The Supreme Court hearing on the floor test plea by Uddhav Thackeray has just begun. We've got a confirmation from inside court that the hearing has just begun. The justice has arrived. The hearing has begun. We'll be going across to Anisha Mathur and Nalini Sharma, our frontline team inside court in just a moment to get you the very latest. But stand by as we bring you live updates from inside court. Everything that is said inside court, you will be hearing first here on India Today. Tushar Mehta, Solicitor General for the Maharashtra government, appearing. And the updates and every little, the big exchanges between the legal teams and the justices will be live here on India Today. So stay tuned here. That hearing has just begun. Arguments are about to be made. All eyes now on the Supreme Court, because the proceedings that have kicked off in Supreme Court now will decide whether the floor test for Uddhav Thackeray's government will happen on schedule tomorrow and in what form. Nalini Sharma live with us from Supreme Court. Proceedings have begun. The hearing has begun, Nalini.
Yes, Shiv, the hearing is officially kicked off before Supreme Court. Just a few minutes past 5, which was the time that was given by Justice Suryakant as well as Justice J.B. Pardiwala for this hearing in this entire matter. And what we are given to understand is Senior Advocate Abhishek Manu Singhvi, who's representing the Shiv Sena Uddhav Thackeray camp, has begun his arguments before the Supreme Court, and what he is stating is that this entire order that was issued by the governor calling an assembly session and asking for the floor test to be concluded by 5 p.m. was done in undue haste, and not even enough time was given for all of the MLAs to be able to arrange as to whether or not they can be part of this floor test, because he is stating that 2 of the NCP MLAs are down with COVID. 2 Congress MLAs are currently abroad. So what was the need for this supersonic speed of floor test with no time to call the MLAs is what Abhishek Manu Singhvi is asking the court. They are of course going to be stressing for the floor test to not happen tomorrow. That is the main thing to watch out for from today's hearing, as to whether or not the Supreme Court will allow for the floor test to continue. But we can expect 4 detailed arguments to happen before that, because as we know and as we saw from the mentioning that happened in the morning, the Eknath Shinde camp is not going to let this go down easy, and they are going to oppose it at every step of the way, trying to ensure that the governor's orders are in fact followed and the floor test does happen tomorrow.
The arguments have begun right now. Supersonic speed of calling that floor test is how Abhishek Manu Singhvi, representing the Uddhav government, has termed it. The Shinde Sena is represented by their lawyers as well, Nalini. Do we have a sense of how long this hearing is going to take? Because Abhishek Manu Singhvi has also talked about being conscious of paucity of time. Is this going to be a quick hearing?
Well, Shiv, we really can't say, because the last time around this happened, if you remember, there was a midnight hearing that happened in the Supreme Court that went on till almost 4 or 4:30 in the morning. So we can expect for long arguments to happen in this case, because there are some very crucial legal questions that the Supreme Court will have to look into to decide what is happening. First and foremost will be as to whether or not the floor test can be conducted tomorrow, but that's dependent on several other factors. The petition that was filed by the Eknath Shinde camp before the Supreme Court, when they had first approached it, specifically talked about how there was a notice for removal of the Deputy Speaker and that no proceedings regarding disqualification can be conducted till the time that notice is decided upon. So the question now arises that can proceedings regarding the floor test at the floor of the House be conducted while the notice for the removal of the Speaker is still pending? What Abhishek Manu Singhvi is also stating before the Supreme Court is that this disqualification, the issue of disqualification of these 16 rebel MLAs from the Eknath Shinde camp is still pending before the Supreme Court. Neither the Supreme Court nor the Speaker have decided this issue and finality. So until the issue of the disqualification of these 16 MLAs is decided, how can the floor test be allowed to continue? But in the past instances that we've seen where the issue of a floor test versus disqualification has come together together before the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has time and again said that it is important to not only conduct a floor test, but conduct a floor test on an urgent basis, so there is at least a stable government in the state. The issue of disqualification of an MLA is something that can be decided at a later stage, because first it has to be decided by the Speaker or the Deputy Speaker, as is this case, and eventually after that it will be subject to judicial review. So it's a slightly longer proceeding, due to which a floor test cannot be stayed. So as to whether or not they will follow the same line of thinking as they've done in the past is something that we have to wait and watch out for at the end of the day's hearing today. There is no doubt about the fact that an order will be passed by the Supreme Court, at least an interim order, where several scenarios are possible, one of which is that this floor test may be allowed to continue, but at the same time they might also delay the floor test to a later date if they feel that the issues in this case require a deeper consideration by the top court.